welcome to the beautiful Lake Traunsee in Austria for the opening event on the Bullet GC32 Racing Tour for 2015. Over the next few months we're going to be following this series as it heads around Europe, bringing together some of the world's best sailors to race on these exciting foiling catamarans. Now before we head out onto the water to see the action, let's take a closer look at their short history. The first two GC32 boats were built in Dubai back in 2012. Conceived as a 32-foot one-design racing catamaran, they were created to not just be one of the fastest boats for their size, but also one of the safest, allowing a wider group of sailors to enjoy them.
Of course, we were looking for a very, very fast boat, but not necessarily the fastest possible for this size. We wanted some safety, so the design brief was very clearly that the boat can be sailed in rough conditions on the sea, so with waves up to, let's say, 2 meters, something like that, and therefore the hulls have lots of buoyancy. So the idea is if you produce a crash landing, then there's enough buoyancy in the hulls to survive that without a capsize.
There was much interest in the new boat straight away, with sailors coming from all over the world to see the two new catamarans sail in Dubai. Originally, the boats had S-foils to reduce displacement, but not to fly. However, all was about to change.
GC32 is a complete new concept for multi-hull racing. I would say they are far ahead of all the rest of multi-hulls, and for sure the boat is very fast and exciting. It's big fun to sail. It's adrenaline sailing at its best, for sure.
The new catamaran, Great Cup 32, and it's totally different compared to similar sized boats because we have a lifting system on the dagger boards, and this makes a total new feeling on the rudder.
With the rapid development in foiling technology and knowledge, our creators were in no doubt that this one-design 32-foot cat had to fly. The designers went back to the drawing board and remodelled the GC32 boat with a new pair of foils similar to those on the America's Cup boats. The L-shaped dagger boards and the T-shaped rudders allowed the boats to pop straight up out of the water, much to the amazement of the sailors.
These boats, they are very interesting. And they are attractive because they are flying, they are spectacular, they are fast, and that's a new way of doing. Not only for young sailors, I'm the proof of that, but it's very interesting to have. That's another way of sailing, but it's still sea, sun, and water, so that's fine.
The new version of the GC32 was welcomed across the sailing world, drawing positive comments from the elite of the sport. But would the hype over this new breed of racing boat last, or was this excitement temporary? In 2014, the new boats were launched to the world at two events. Amongst those that came to see them in Marseille and Austria were Olympians and America's Cup sailors, such as Tom Slingsby and Chris Draper. After several improvements and modifications, the boat was ready to show its true potential. welcome back to Austria for the opening event on the Bullet GC32 Tour event for 2015. I've made my way out onto the water. I'm on Sultanate of Oman. The crews are preparing for the opening day's racing. We've had a look at the history of these boats, and in their short 3 years since they were launched in Dubai, they've certainly made an impact on the world of sailing, and it's not difficult to see why.
The new generation of boat have to foil for sure.
It's fantastic. It's a lovely boat to sail. It's a great design.
Just amazing. With 10 knots, you have 20 knots of speed.
Very, very fast compared to any other catamaran.
The large lifting foils allow the boats to get airborne in just 7 knots of wind, and not just reaching, they can also foil upwind. A GC32 has been clocked at a remarkable 37.9 knots. Despite its impressive performance, the boat is easy to helm and get airborne, but like most racing boats, requires skill and practice on the part of the crew to become competitive. With new teams, new sailors, new management joining in the Bullet GC32 Racing Tour for 2015, those involved headed to Marseille in the south of France for an official test event in April. Many of the crews were sailing the boats for the very first time, trying to get a handle on the incredible speeds and acceleration, even in the lightest of winds. Crews were able to test the boats to the max whilst also practicing their race manoeuvres in many of the competitive races that were held during the test events. It was all, of course, a warm-up for what lay ahead, with the tour getting underway at the end of May in Austria. Over the summer months, the Bullet GC32 Racing Tour will visit 5 countries around Europe. Starting in Lake Traunsee in Austria, it will travel to Cowes on the Isle of Wight, renowned for its international yacht racing. From the UK, it will head out to Kiel in Germany and then to Italy, where Fiumicino near Rome will host its first ever major international regatta. Finally, the tour will return to Marseille for the last event of the season, where the overall series title will be decided. But who would be the winner of the first event in Austria? Stay with us. After the break, we'll find out. So the teams gathered in the pretty town of Gmunden on the edge of Lake Traunsee for the first stop of the exciting Bullet GC32 Racing Tour for 2015. Crews were eager to make a mark early on in the season, with a summer of racing ahead.
New teams came in this year with Olengi, Spindrift or Oman Air. They believe in that concept. They believe that the one design status of that class will be strong, and it will not be the boat that makes a difference, but the teams.
Racing would take place in front of the town's main square, which acted as a race village during the week. Many sailing fans had made the trip to Austria to see the teams and the development of the boats.
The new development of the foils I would say it went to another level. I mean, this is the future of sailing, and they made it really happen. I mean, the boat is, especially here, flying in a very light breeze, and exciting to see, and the public love it. So yes, it was a big step forward to change to the foiling mode.
Well, let's introduce you to the 5 teams out in Austria. Sailors with some very different pedigrees were set to line up against each other. Skipper of Armin Strong, Flavio Marazzi, is a 4-time Olympic star sailor. In contrast, Sebastian Rogues has a wealth of experience in offshore racing. He's on board another French boat, Team NG. Add to that 2 Extreme Sailing Series champions in Morgan Larson, who'll be skippering Alinghi, and Lee McMillan, who's with Sultanate of Oman. Finally, multi-hull specialist in Jan Guichard is the skipper of Spindrift Racing.
In this sort of 30 to 40 foot range is a great size boat. 5 people is a really nice number. And then now with the foiling, the addition of the foiling concept, it just creates a whole new challenge for us as sailors, and we're enjoying it.
So we've heard about the history of the boats and we've met the teams. It's now time to head out onto the water for day 1 of racing. First to make their mark was Team NG with Sebastian Rogues on the helm. They won the first race but then struggled for consistency in the next 3. The battle for the early lead on day 1 was between Team Alinghi and Sultanate of Oman. Managing to pop onto the foils in the day's light conditions was a huge achievement, and the tacticians were proving their worth, finding the best wind out on the course. At the end of day 1, Alinghi topped the leaderboard, but they were tied on points with Sultanate of Oman, so everything was still to play for.
You know, I think everyone's very excited to be racing now. It's kind of the first real kind of proper circuit on the GC32s that's taking place this year, and you know, you've got a lot of competitive teams.
One of the challenges for the boats in this new format of racing is consistency throughout the events. With as many as half a dozen short races sailed each day, the crews need to stay focused to avoid any mistakes. The GC32s race over a similar course to the America's Cup. The start is vital and crews will time their run to the line so that they hit maximum speed crossing it. There's then a short reach to the first gate before the long downwind leg to the leeward gate. There's a choice of marks to round here before the longest and most tactical leg of the race, upwind back to the windward gate. It's then back to repeat the downwind, upwind legs once again before a reach sprint to the finish back to where they started.
Look, obviously the boats are quite demanding in the boat handling department, so you know, I think the crew work is one of the very important things with a foiling catamaran. And yeah, to be honest, I think just you know, being able to keep your head out of the boat whilst you're doing all the manoeuvres is also key to getting around the racetrack in good shape. So particularly sailing on a sort of a shifty, puffy venue on a foiling boat, you know, the positions can change very quickly and the situations can change very quickly. So being very open-minded and flexible with your planning and your decision-making process, I think becomes one of the key aspects to a good performance.
The frequent short races are no easier for the crews. They're operating at maximal physical exertion for 30 minutes at a time. Sailing one of these speed machines takes strength, smarts and courage. Crews spend a large amount of time training on their physical fitness, just as much as they do out on the water. We return to racing in Austria, and it's day 2. Sultanate of Oman proved to be the most consistent crew of the day. They finished in the top 3 in all 5 races. Scoring 2 bullets, they moved 6 points clear of Alinghi. The Swiss boat made an uncharacteristic mistake in the opening race of the day, crossing the line in 5th. The 2 French teams, NG and Spindrift Racing, finished the day tied on points ahead of Armin Strom Racing Team. Spindrift Racing managed to handle the light conditions expertly, winning 2 of the 5 races.
We keep pushing hard, the boat and the team, and Roman is really impressive, and Alinghi as well, so it's not finished, but we will take race after another, and we will see, but we progress race after race, and we will see the forecast, it's like the same, so it will be tricky.
It's day 3 in Gmunden on the edge of Lake Traunsee, and the crews are preparing to head out onto the water. It's another clear, sunny morning. Each night, one of the GC32 boats is craned and put onto the shore so that the general public can get a little bit closer to the speed machines. Last night, it was the turn of Sultanate of Oman. There are overall leaders at this halfway stage. 10 races gone, 10 to go. The sailors present in Austria have come from an impressive range of backgrounds, be it America's Cup, offshore racing or dinghies. It makes predicting the races a difficult task.
If you sail a mini multi-hull or dinghies before, with like two people on board, it's easier to jump on a GC32, because you need to respond and think quickly to the next move that you want to do. And everything happens really quickly, so you need to be ahead of the other guys all the time.
The GC32 is aimed at both pro sailing teams and private owners looking to experience ultra-high performance racing. It's an opportunity for the wider sailing public to experience a level of sailing boat technology that's usually only available to America's Cup teams.
That's right. Well, I think you need a handful of pretty qualified people on board, but actually steering the boat, which is what I'm doing, is the easiest part. And I think anybody with a broad sailing background would adapt quite well to it. But you do need a few big guys pulling the sheets around, and that's pretty critical.
In Austria, we saw some of the world's best sailors come together to battle it out on these exciting foiling catamarans. The crew lists include Olympic medalists, America's Cup winners and many world champions. The racing's been tight, with each sailor bringing their unique skills to make up the teams. Few points have separated the 5 boats. Day 3 and competition in Austria was intriguing as ever, with many of the crews still trying to adapt to the boats and understand their distinct characteristics. The best performance of the day belonged to Team Spindrift Racing, whose consistent sailing saw them move up to 2nd in the leaderboard, tied on points with Alinghi.
I'm happy because today it was really difficult. The conditions are really tricky and unpredictable, and the start was good, but after the tactic was really good. The first day was difficult for us. During the maneuver and the tactic it was difficult, but today I feel more comfortable with the boat, and with my team crew, team work, we are in the game tomorrow for the second place, so I'm looking forward to a race tomorrow.
So it's day 4 here on Lake Traunsee, and we've come down to the final day of this opening Bullet GC32 Tour event. And I made my way onto Sultanate of Oman. And Lee McMillan, you're skippering this week, helming for the week. How have you found it?
Oh, it's been a great couple of days so far racing. It's been very close, but we've had a lot of fun, and yeah, it's been going well. The team has really gelled, and only being on the boat for 2 or 3 days together now, and yeah, so it's all going really well.
Six races were sailed on this final day, with the bullets shared between 4 teams. It just shows how closely matched the boats are, and any small error can cost the race. Spindrift Racing had been climbing the leaderboard all week, and today they managed to secure 2nd place, pulling clear of Alinghi, who they tied on points with heading into this final day. However, there was no doubt who the top performer was during the week. Sultanate of Oman may have only had a few days training before coming to Lake Traunsee, but the professional crews showed their experience. Leading from the opening day, they took the inaugural Bullet GC32 Austria Cup.
We had a lot on our plate really, but to come away with a win was very unexpected, but a real delight. And today, the last day, was the best wins really, and most consistent wins. Still fantastic feeling winning here.
The team celebrated their hard-earned victory, an even more impressive win given the small amount of training that the team had managed to do before the event. Just goes to show how important teamwork is on board these boats, with the crew regularly sailing together in the Extreme Sailing Series. Sultanate of Oman has set the benchmark after the opening event of the season. The light, shifty wind conditions didn't make it easy for the crews in Austria, but it didn't make racing any less exciting. Well, that's it from Austria. I hope you've enjoyed our coverage from Lake Traunsee. The series now heads to the Isle of Wight in England, where Cows hosts the next event on the Bullet GC32 Racing Tour for 2015. See you then.